The poison rain started without warning. Nadia Okonkwo threw herself under a thick cluster of fern-like plants, pressing her body flat against the muddy ground. Above her, the purple drops hissed and sizzled as they hit exposed rocks, leaving small, smoking holes wherever they landed. Her coalition-issued survival suit protected her skin, but the acid would eat through the fabric in minutes if she stayed exposed. She counted to 60. Then 80. At 112, the rain stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Welcome to Morith 7, the galaxy's favorite death world. Nadia crawled out from her hiding spot and checked her equipment. Her pulse rifle was still working. Her water purifier had a crack running down its side. Her communication unit was completely dead, fried by the ion storm that had separated her from her squad 3 hours ago. She was alone. Somewhere to the north, her unit was probably already writing her off as dead. Private Okonkwo, the human, the small one, the weakest link in their chain. She could imagine the Rillian warriors shaking their massive heads, their forearms crossed in disappointment. She could picture the Bravathi soldiers clicking their mandibles in that way that meant they had expected nothing better from a Death Worlder who weighed barely 60 kilograms. Humans were supposed to be tough. That was the whole point of recruiting them. Earth was classified as a Class 7 Death World, filled with extreme weather, dangerous predators, and toxic plants. Humans had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and countless other disasters. The Galactic Coalition had started recruiting them specifically for missions like this one, but Nadia had always been the exception. Too short, too thin, too quiet. She had passed all her tests on intelligence and adaptability, but her physical scores had placed her at the very bottom of her unit. Commander Drell had taken one look at her on the first day and clicked his mandibles in disappointment. Now she was lost in the Black Vein Jungle, a restricted zone that even veteran soldiers avoided. Her map showed it as a red area with a simple warning, do not enter. Life expectancy for anyone who went in was measured in hours, not days. Nadia started walking anyway. There was no other direction to go. The jungle pressed in around her from all sides. Trees with bark the color of dried blood rose hundreds of meters into the sky. Their branches tangled together so tightly that almost no light reached the ground. Vines hung down like waiting snakes. Strange insects buzzed past her face, some of them large enough to carry off small mammals. The air smelled like rotting fruit and copper. Her grandmother had been a veterinarian back in Lagos. Nadia remembered sitting in her clinic as a child, watching her work with animals that most people would have been afraid to touch. Snakes with venom that could kill in seconds. Wild dogs with teeth like knives. Her grandmother had handled them all with calm, steady hands. Everything wants to live, her grandmother used to say. Even the dangerous ones. Especially the dangerous ones. Remember that, and you'll understand them. Nadia was trying very hard to remember that now. She found a stream that her scanner said was not poisonous and refilled her damaged water purifier as best she could. She ate 2 of her emergency ration bars, knowing she needed to save the rest. She found a hollow space between 2 massive tree roots and decided it would be her shelter for the night. The sounds of the jungle changed as darkness fell. The buzzing insects went quiet. The distant calls of unknown creatures shifted from high-pitched chirps to low, rumbling growls. Something screamed far away and then went suddenly silent. Nadia wedged herself deeper in her hiding spot and tried not to breathe too loudly. That was when she heard it. Something was moving through the trees. Something big. She could hear branches snapping under its weight, could feel the vibration of its footsteps through the ground. It was circling her position, moving slowly, deliberately. It knew she was there. Nadia's hand found her pulse rifle, but she did not raise it. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. Everything wants to live. Even the dangerous ones. The movement stopped. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Nadia saw 2 points of light in the darkness between the trees. They glowed with a soft blue color, like bioluminescent organisms she had seen in documentaries about deep ocean creatures. But these lights were not small. They were positioned high off the ground, maybe 3 meters up, and they were watching her. Eyes. They were eyes that Nadia's throat went dry. She knew what she was looking at. Every recruit had been shown the files during their first week of training. The shroud wolf, apex predator of Morith 7. 6 legs, each one ending in claws that could tear through starship hull plating. Teeth designed to crush bone. Average weight, nearly 2,000 kilograms. Average length, 7 meters from nose to tail. Coalition records contained exactly 0 cases of anyone surviving a direct encounter with one. The glowing eyes blinked once, slowly. Then the creature turned and melted back into the darkness, its massive body moving without making a single sound. Nadia did not sleep that night. She sat with her back against the tree roots, her rifle across her knees, watching the jungle and waiting for death to come. But death did not come, and somewhere in the darkness, something was still watching her. 3 sunrises had passed since the storm. Nadia smeared another handful of river mud across her arms and face, covering every bit of exposed skin. The mud blocked her scent better than anything in her survival kit. She had learned this trick from her grandmother too, who had once spent 6 months working with wildlife researchers in the Congo Basin. Predators hunted by smell more than sight. If you could hide your smell, you could sometimes hide from death. She moved through the jungle like a ghost, staying low, staying quiet. She ate things she recognized from Earth. Grubs that looked like beetle larvae, mushrooms that grew in the same patterns as one she had seen in biology class, fruits that passed her scanner's basic toxicity test. She drank from moving water only. She slept in tree hollows, wedging herself so tightly into the gaps that nothing could drag her out without tearing the tree apart first. And always, always, she was being followed. The shroud wolf never came closer than 30 meters. It never made any aggressive moves. It simply appeared at the edge of her vision, those blue, glowing eyes watching her from the shadows, and then disappeared again when she turned to look directly at it. Sometimes she would hear its massive body moving parallel to her path. Sometimes she would find its footprints in the mud where she had walked an hour before T was studying her on the second night. Exhaustion nearly killed her. She had been awake for almost 40 hours, running on fear and emergency stimulants from her medical kit. She made a mistake while crossing a rocky outcrop, put her foot on a loose stone, and fell nearly 4 meters into a gully filled with something that looked like sharp coral. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs and opened a deep cut on her left arm. She lay there for a long moment, staring up at the narrow strip of sky visible between the rocks. Her blood soaked into the ground beneath her. She was too tired to move, too tired to care. A shadow blocked out the stars. The shroud wolf stood at the edge of the gully, looking down at her. This close, she could see details she had missed before. Its 6 legs were positioned in pairs, 2 in front, 2 in the middle, 2 in back, each one thick with muscle. Its body was covered in something that looked like a mixture of fur and scales, dark purple in color with thin lines of blue bioluminescence running along its sides. Its head was massive, almost wolf-like but wider, with a mouth that could have swallowed her whole. It made a sound. Low, rumbling, almost like a question. Nadia laughed. It hurt her chest, made the cut on her arm burn, but she could not stop. Here she was, lying at the bottom of a hole on an alien death world, being watched by the most dangerous predator on the planet. And she was laughing. "What are you waiting for?" she asked it. Her voice came out cracked and dry. "I'm right here. Easy meal. Just finish it." The creature tilted its head to one side. "I am so tired," Nadia continued. She did not know why she was still talking. Maybe the stimulants were making her crazy. Maybe she was already dying, and this was her brain's way of coping. "I'm tired of being the weak one. I'm tired of everyone expecting me to fail. I'm tired of proving them right." The shroud wolf lowered its massive head until its face was level with hers. Its breath washed over her, warm and smelling of something metallic. Its glowing eyes were only 2 meters away now. She could see her own reflection in them, a small human shape covered in mud and blood. It blinked at her. Once, twice. Then it turned and walked away into the darkness. Nadia stayed in that gully until morning. When the sun finally rose, she found the strength to climb out. Her arm had stopped bleeding, and she used the last of her medical gel to seal the wound. She checked her equipment, drank some water, and started walking again. The shroud wolf was waiting for her at the edge of the jungle, lying in a patch of filtered sunlight like some enormous cat. It watched her emerge from the rocks, and its tail moved once, side to side, in what might have been acknowledgement. "Still here?" Nadia said. The creature huffed at her. She walked past it, close enough that she could have reached out and touched its fur. It did not move. It did not even tense. It simply watched her pass, and then rose to its feet and followed her into the trees. That was how they traveled for the rest of the day. Nadia in front, the shroud wolf behind, like some strange parade through the deadliest jungle in the galaxy. She talked to it sometimes because the sound of her own voice was better than the silence. She told it about Earth, about Lagos, about her grandmother's clinic. She told about the day she had received her acceptance letter to the Coalition military program and how her mother had cried. The creature never responded. But it never left either. On the third night, Nadia made her camp in another hollow tree. The shroud wolf lay down exactly 30 meters away, in the same spot it always chose. Its glowing eyes watched her until she fell asleep. For the first time since the storm, she slept through the night without waking. Something had changed between them. She did not know what it was yet, but something was different now. The smell hit her first. Nadia had been walking for maybe an hour when the wind shifted and brought something rotten and sick to her nose. It was the smell of infection, of flesh turning bad, of something dying slowly. She knew that smell. She had grown up around it in her grandmother's clinic, where wounded animals sometimes arrived too late to save. She followed the smell through the undergrowth until she found a small clearing. The shroud wolf was there, lying on its side in the filtered morning light. Its massive chest rose and fell in shallow, labored breaths. Its glowing eyes were dim, flickering like candles running out of wax. And now she understood why it had not killed her. The wound was on its right side, between the second and third pair of legs. Something metal was embedded in the flesh there, surrounded by swollen tissue and pus that leaked down onto the ground. The area around it had turned a sick greenish color. Even from 5 meters away, Nadia could see the infection spreading outward in ugly streaks. She walked closer. The creature watched her come, but did not move. It did not even raise its head. Nadia knelt beside the wound and looked at the metal object. It was a capsule of some kind, about the size of her fist, with small hooks on its surface that had dug into the flesh and anchored it in place. She recognized the design from her training materials. It was a poison dispenser used by illegal hunters to bring down large predators. The capsule would slowly release toxins into the bloodstream over days or weeks, weakening the creature until it could no longer fight back. Someone had tried to kill this shroud wolf, and they had nearly succeeded. "Who did this to you?" Nadia asked quietly. The creature made a sound, soft and pained. She sat back on her heels and thought about her options. She could walk away. The shroud wolf was dying, and nothing she did would change that. If she left now, she could cover another 10 kilometers before nightfall. She might even find her way out of the restricted zone and back to Coalition territory. But her grandmother's voice was in her head again, steady and calm. Everything wants to live, even the dangerous ones. Nadia opened her survival kit and laid out everything she had. 1 field medical kit with basic supplies, 3 packets of antiseptic gel, a small knife, some strips of fabric that could work as bandages. It was not much, but it was something. "I'm going to try to help you," she said to the shroud wolf. "But you need to stay still. If you move, if you bite me, we both die here. Do you understand?" The creature blinked at her. Its eyes seemed to focus, just for a moment. Nadia took a deep breath and moved toward the wound. The next hour was the hardest of her life. The capsule had hooks that went deep into the muscle, and pulling it out required her to cut away the infected tissue first. The shroud wolf made sounds of pain that she would never forget, low rumbling growls that vibrated through the ground and up into her bones. Several times it tensed as if it might strike her, its claws digging into the dirt, its breath coming fast and hot. Each time, Nadia froze and waited. Each time, the creature forced itself to relax. IT was trusting her. This predator that could kill her in a single heartbeat was choosing to let her hurt it because it understood she was trying to help. Finally, the capsule came free. It was covered in blood and pus, and Nadia threw it as far as she could into the jungle. Then she poured every drop of her antiseptic gel into the wound, cleaning out the infection as best she could. She packed the opening with the cleanest fabric she had and held pressure until the bleeding slowed. When it was over, she sat back against a tree and shook. Her hands would not stop trembling. Her whole body felt like water. The shroud wolf lay still for a long time. Then, slowly, it lifted its massive head and looked at her. Its eyes were brighter now, less dim. It made a sound that was almost like a sigh. Then it did something that made Nadia's heart stop. That IT crawled toward her, dragging its wounded body across the clearing. It moved until its head was resting on the ground right next to her leg. Its glowing eyes closed. Its breathing deepened into something that sounded almost peaceful. Nadia did not move. She barely breathed. After a while, she reached out with one trembling hand and touched the creature's head. Its fur was softer than she had expected, almost like velvet. Under her fingers, she could feel the warmth of its body, the slow pulse of its heartbeat. "I do not know if you can understand me," she whispered, "but you're not going to die alone. I promise you that." The shroud wolf made a sound, low and rumbling, almost like a purr. Nadia sat there until the sun moved across the sky and the shadows grew long. She did not try to leave. She did not try to find her way out of the jungle. She just sat with her hand on the creature's head, keeping watch over something that had decided, for reasons she could not understand, to trust her. Everything wants to live, her grandmother had said. Tonight, at least, they both would. The dead animal landed at Nadia's feet just as she was waking up. She scrambled backward, her hand reaching for her pulse rifle before her brain caught up with her reflexes. The creature lying in front of her was some kind of six-legged deer, its neck broken cleanly, its body still warm. Standing behind it, looking extremely pleased with itself, was the shroud wolf that it had been 1 week since she had removed the poison capsule. "Did you bring me breakfast?" Nadia asked. The creature made a huffing sound and sat down on its haunches. Its wound was healing well. The infection had cleared, and new tissue was growing over the damaged area. It still moved more slowly than before, but each day it seemed stronger. Nadia looked at the dead animal, then back at the shroud wolf. "I did not know how to feel about this." It huffed again, which she had started to recognize as its version of impatience. She had started calling it Ghost. The name seemed right. It could move through the jungle without making any sound at all, appearing and disappearing like smoke. Sometimes she would be walking and suddenly realize it was right beside her, matching her pace step for step. Other times it would vanish for hours and then reappear with food. Always food. It brought her something every day now. Small animals, large insects, once even a fish that it had somehow caught in the river. It would drop its kills in front of her and then watch her with those glowing eyes, waiting. Nadia had never had a pet. Her mother had been allergic to most animals, and their apartment in Lagos had been too small anyway. But this felt like something more than ownership. Ghost was not her pet. There was something else, something she did not have a word for. Partners, maybe. Pack. She cooked the deer meat over a small fire that night, using techniques her grandmother had taught her. Ghost lay nearby, close enough that she could feel the warmth of its body. The jungle sound seemed different now, less threatening. Maybe because nothing in its right mind would come near a shroud wolf's territory. "You know," Nadia said, tearing off a piece of cooked meat, "my squad probably thinks I am dead." Ghost lifted its head and looked at her. They were not bad people. They just did not know what to do with me. Humans are supposed to be strong, you know? Tough. We come from a death world, so everyone expects us to be these amazing warriors. But I was always small. Always the one who got tired first, who fell behind on the long runs, who could not lift as much as everyone else. She threw a piece of meat to Ghost, who caught it in its massive jaws and swallowed without chewing. My grandmother used to say that strength comes in different forms. She said that the strongest thing a person could do was show kindness to something that could hurt them. I never really understood what she meant until now. Ghost made its purring sound and laid its head back down on its paws. The next day, they traveled together openly for the first time. Ghost walked beside her instead of behind, its massive body moving through the jungle like water flowing around stones. When Nadia got tired, it would stop and wait. When she got hungry, it would disappear for a few minutes and return with food. On the fifth day of this new arrangement, trouble found them. Nadia was crossing a rocky area near a cliff when she heard the sounds. Clicking, chittering, the scrape of claws on stone. She turned and saw them emerging from the shadows. A pack of smaller predators, about the size of large dogs, with too many teeth and eyes that reflected red in the dim light. Her scanner identified them as rockjaws, pack hunters known for overwhelming their prey through numbers. There were at least 20 of them. Nadia raised her pulse rifle, but she knew it would not be enough. She could maybe take down 5 or 6 before they reached her. The rest would tear her apart. The first rockjaw lunged. Something massive came out of nowhere and caught it in midair. Ghost hit the pack like a landslide. Its claws flashed silver in the light, and suddenly there were 4 dead rockjaws on the ground. The others scattered, confused, their simple predator brains not prepared for something this big, this fast, this angry. Ghost stood over Nadia, all 6 legs planted wide, its body between her and the remaining pack. It made a sound she had never heard before, a roar that shook the trees and echoed off the cliff walls. The remaining rockjaws looked at each other, and then at the bodies of their dead packmates. And then they turned and ran. Ghost watched them go. Then it turned to look at Nadia, checking her for injuries with those glowing eyes. "I am okay," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I am okay. You saved me." Ghost made its huffing sound and pressed its massive head against her chest. The pressure was gentle, careful, like it knew exactly how fragile she was. Nadia wrapped her arms around its neck as far as they would go and held on. "Pack," she whispered. "We are pack now." Ghost purred, and the sound vibrated through her entire body. From that night on, they slept back to back, sharing warmth in the cold jungle darkness. The galaxy's deadliest predator and the galaxy's most underestimated soldier. Neither of them alone anymore. The sound of engines broke through the morning silence. Nadia had been washing in the river when she heard them. Coalition dropships, at least 3 of them, flying low over the jungle canopy. Search pattern formation. They were looking for something. They were looking for her. 16 days. She had been in the black vein jungle for 16 days. No one had ever survived that long here. No one had even come close. Ghost appeared beside her, its body tense, its eyes fixed on the sky. It made a low rumbling sound that she had learned to recognize as a warning. "Easy," Nadia said, putting her hand on its shoulder. "They are not here to hurt us. They are here to rescue me." The creature looked at her with something that might have been doubt. The dropships landed in a clearing about half a kilometer away. Nadia could hear voices, shouts, the sound of equipment being unloaded. She took a deep breath, checked to make sure Ghost was still beside her, and started walking toward them. The rescue team consisted of 12 soldiers and 1 commanding officer. The soldiers were a mix of Rillian warriors with their 4 arms and blue skin, and Bravathi troops in their heavy armor. The commanding officer was Commander Drell himself, the one who had clicked his mandibles at her on the first day of training. They all stopped talking when she emerged from the jungle. "Private Okonkwo," Commander Drell said. His mandibles clicked rapidly, which she now knew meant extreme surprise. "You are alive." "Yes, sir." "You survived 16 days in the restricted zone." "Yes, sir." "No one has ever done that before." "So I have heard, sir." Commander Drell looked at her for a long moment. She knew how she must appear to him. Thin, dirty, covered in mud and scratches, her uniform torn in several places. But alive. Very much alive. Then Ghost stepped out of the jungle behind her, and everything changed. .12 pulse rifles came up at the same time. Commander Drell drew his sidearm. Someone shouted an order to fire. "No." Nadia threw herself in front of Ghost, her arms spread wide. "Stand down. Do not shoot." "Private Okonkwo, move aside," Commander Drell ordered. "That creature is extremely dangerous. It is not going to hurt anyone. It has been protecting me for the last 2 weeks." The commander's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Protecting you? Shroud wolves do not protect. They hunt. They kill. They are solitary apex predators. This one is different. Move aside, Private. That is an order. Nadia did not move. Behind her, she could feel Ghost tensing, could hear the low rumble building in its chest. If the soldiers opened fire, Ghost would fight back. And even wounded, even outnumbered, it would take half of them down before they killed it. Sir, she said, keeping her voice as calm as she could, I am asking you to trust me. This creature saved my life. Multiple times. It brought me food. It killed predators that were trying to eat me. It let me heal its wounds. It chose me. Chose you. The commander sounded like he did not understand the words. I do not know how to explain it better than that. It was dying when I found it. Someone had poisoned it with an illegal hunter's trap. I helped it, and after that, something changed. It started treating me like pack. One of the Rillian soldiers made a sound of disbelief. Shroud wolves do not form bonds outside their own species. It is not possible. And yet here we are. Commander Drell stared at her for a long time. Then he looked at Ghost, who was watching the scene with those glowing eyes, perfectly still, waiting. It is not attacking. One of the Bravathi soldiers said quietly. Sir, that thing could have charged us by now. It is not attacking, because it is waiting, Nadia said. It is waiting for my signal. It trusts me to handle this. Silence stretched across the clearing. The pulse rifles did not lower, but no one fired either. Finally, one of the soldiers moved. A young Rillian, barely older than Nadia herself, stepped forward and lowered his weapon. I believe her, he said. I trained with Private Okonkwo. She could not run as fast as us, could not lift as much as us, but she was always the one who stopped to help others. If anyone could do the impossible, it would be her. Another soldier lowered his weapon. Then another. Commander Drell watched this happen, his mandibles clicking slowly. Finally, he holstered his sidearm and let out a long breath. Private Okonkwo, he said, you have violated approximately 17 different regulations by being in this area and forming contact with a restricted species. Yes, sir. You have also done something that our scientists believed was impossible. Yes, sir. I'm going to need you to come back to base for debriefing. The creature comes with you. Peacefully. Can you guarantee that? Nadia turned and looked at Ghost. The shroud wolf lowered its head and pressed its forehead against her shoulder in that gesture she had come to understand as affection. Yes, sir, she said. I can guarantee that. Commander Drell's mandibles clicked one more time. Then let us go make history, Private. Ghost walked beside her all the way to the dropship, its glowing eyes watching everything, trusting her to lead the way. 3 months had changed everything. Nadia stood in the briefing room of Coalition Station Argent, wearing a uniform that no longer marked her as the lowest-ranked recruit in her unit. The single stripe on her shoulder had been replaced by the new symbol of the Bonded Operations Program, a human hand and a creature's paw overlapping. Behind her, Ghost lay in a space that had been specially designed for its size. The scientists had wanted to keep it in a containment facility at first, surrounded by force fields and monitoring equipment. That had lasted exactly 4 hours, until Ghost had started making sounds of distress that shattered 3 windows and brought half the security team running. Now it went wherever Nadia went, and the Coalition had learned to adjust. Specialist Okonkwo, Commander Drell said, stepping into the room. He still clicked his mandibles when he talked to her, but the meaning had changed. Now was respect. Your transport is ready. Thank you, Commander. There are 12 requests on my desk from soldiers who want to transfer to your training program, including 4 members of your original unit. Nadia smiled. She remembered those soldiers, the ones who had called her weak, the ones who had expected her to die. Now, they wanted to learn from her. I will review them when I return from this mission, sir. See that you do. Commander Drell paused at the door. Specialist, when we first found you in that jungle, I thought you had simply gotten lucky. I was wrong. What you did required something that cannot be trained into a soldier. The scientists still do not understand how you bonded with that creature, but I think I do. It saw something in you that we missed. Sir, kindness specialist. Real kindness, even in the worst circumstances. That is rare. His mandibles clicked softly. Good luck on your mission. He left, and Nadia turned to look at Ghost. The shroud wolf was watching her with those glowing eyes, its tail moving slowly back and forth. Ready to go save another world, she asked. Ghost made its huffing sound and rose to its feet. The dropship took them down to the surface of Verdun 3, another death world, another restricted zone. The mission was simple. A research team had gone missing in the deep jungle, and all attempts to rescue them had failed. The local predators were too aggressive, the terrain too dangerous. Normal soldiers could not survive long enough to find the missing scientists, but Nadia was not a normal soldier anymore. She stepped off the dropship with Ghost beside her, and the jungle went silent. Every creature within a kilometer could sense what Ghost was. They knew that death had arrived, walking on 6 legs, and they wanted no part of it. "Move out," Nadia said quietly. They traveled through the undergrowth together, just as they had on Morith 7. Ghost's senses were far better than any scanner. It could smell fear, could hear heartbeats from hundreds of meters away, could track movement through the densest vegetation. Within 3 hours, they had found a missing research team, trapped in a cave by a pack of creatures that were too afraid to approach now that Ghost was nearby. The scientists stared at Nadia and her partner with wide eyes. "You are the human," one of them whispered. "The one who tamed the shroud wolf." "I did not tame it," Nadia said, helping them to their feet. "We are partners. There is a difference." The rescue was complete by sunset. The scientists were loaded onto the dropship, shaking and grateful. As the engine started to warm up, Nadia stood at the edge of the jungle and looked out at the trees. Ghost pressed against her side, warm and solid. "You know," she said quietly, "when I joined the coalition, I thought I had to prove that humans belonged here. I thought I had to be stronger, faster, tougher than everyone else. I thought that was what made us special." Ghost made a questioning sound. "But I was wrong. That is not what makes us special. What makes us special is that we find family in strange places. We form bonds that do not make sense. We show kindness to things that could kill us, and sometimes that kindness comes back to us." She scratched behind Ghost's ear, and the massive predator leaned in her touch like a cat. "They keep asking me how I did it, how I survived, how I bonded with you. They want a formula, a technique, something they can teach to other soldiers." She laughed softly. "But there is no formula. There is just being willing to see something dangerous and choosing to help it anyway." The dropship's pilot called out that they were ready for takeoff. Nadia took one last look at the jungle of Verdun 3. Somewhere out there, more creatures were watching them, more predators that had never known anything but violence and survival. Maybe one day, one of them would meet another human like her. Maybe one day, another bond would form in another impossible place. She climbed into the dropship with Ghost beside her. As they rose into the sky, she could see the jungle spreading out below them, beautiful and deadly. "Where to next?" the pilot asked. Nadia thought about all the death worlds in the galaxy, all the places that the Coalition considered too dangerous for anyone to go, all the predators that no one had ever tried to understand. "Wherever they need us," she said. Ghost purred, and the sound filled the entire ship. In a galaxy that had said she did not belong, Nadia had found something that disagreed. And together, they were going to change everything.